What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to my top 10 sleepers for the 2021 NFL Draft that I cannot believe is only 2 days from now. This has flown by. I want to thank everybody that has joined me for this journey, whether you subscribed after yesterday's mock draft or have been here since January and before that. It's been an awesome ride, and we're just getting started, man. I want to remind you guys that if you enjoy my draft content, take out your phones, set a reminder to come back here on YouTube Thursday, Friday, Saturday for the draft. Going to be doing my live stream here on YouTube. Going to have live grades, analysis, reactions. A lot of emotions will be involved, I'm sure. Going to have highlights this year. It's going to be awesome, man. I'm super excited for the draft. I know you have a lot of options out there. There's a lot of great content creators doing streams. You know, ESPN, they're going to be covering it. I don't know why you would choose to listen to their analysis over basically myself or anybody else. That's on you if you're going that route, but hey, you do what you got to do for your own entertainment. But I know you got options out there regardless, and I appreciate you joining me for the live stream. I can't wait to spend those nights with you guys, and Saturday's a day, obviously, but yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys there for the live stream. I appreciate you. We'll see you there. But without further ado, let's get into my top 10 sleepers list for the upcoming draft. We all know what a sleeper is, but these are guys that I think outperform either public perception or the actual NFL draft position of these guys. Now, they won't all work out. They're on this list for a reason. There's knocks on their player evaluation that are legitimate reasons why other people do not like these players. But for me, most of those knocks, I just probably don't weight as much as other people. But anyway, let's get into it. My number 10 sleeper for this upcoming draft is by far my biggest dart throw on this list. But that's really what you have to settle for when you're talking about the tight end position. So Briley Moore out of Kansas State makes the list at number 10. And this is in order, by the way, as far as like weight of the sleeper, if you will, whatever that means to you. But yeah, Briley Moore is to me a dart throw worth making in the 5th, 6th round. And I did look at my rankings compared to consensus public rankings. Briley Moore is 20th on the consensus rankings. He's actually 6th for me. So that does put him in the 5th, 6th round. But that really speaks to the lack of depth in not just this tight end class, but every tight end class, and the unavailability of good tight ends in the NFL. So Briley Moore is not a good tight end right now, but he does have the physical profile and flashes of a potential starter. And when you get into that 5th, 6th round, it is incredibly difficult to find those types of players. So I liked what I saw from him. I saw a guy that separated, had explosive run after the catch ability, and a really good run blocker. And then he came out in his pro day and really impressed. Hit that 4.6, 640, which is really encouraging. Maybe confirmation bias there a little bit, or just confirmation, period, that he is a good athlete that I thought I saw on film. So the potential for him to develop as a receiver, that he really went underutilized at Kansas State, and he wasn't even a full-time starter until late in his career there at that train wreck of a program that they call a football team in Kansas State. So you're hoping you pull him out of there, find a little bit of talent that they have there, pull him out, get him NFL coaching, and in his case, he's a really good run blocker. He is athletic. I do think he has that mentality to play special teams, which will help him keep a 53-man roster spot. He will add value in other ways as he potentially develops some of those route running and receiver capabilities, and he can help as a blocker, whether it's as a tight end 2 or a tight end 3 in heavy packages. I just think that he stands out as opposed to this massive cluster of tight ends that we get every year, these 24-year-old dudes that are not athletic, that didn't do anything from a receiving standpoint, show any big flashes at all. Briley Moore rather, is not that type of player. So definitely a dart throw. Odds are nothing's going to come of this player, but looking at that position group, that's just the norm. Is you kind of got to pick your shots and see what sticks. And he would be my guy that I would take if you're looking for what I described as that project tight end. Now my number 9 player here is Tylan Wallace, receiver out of Oklahoma State. Now, not a under the radar player by any stretch of the imagination. Most of you watching this video probably know who Tylan Wallace is. And even my ranking of him, I have him 9th. Consensus has him 11th. So I am higher on him, but that doesn't seem like that big of a discrepancy. But what I will say is I see Tylan Wallace as a top 50 or so player in this class, whereas most people see him as a 3rd round pick, kind of in this cluster of capable depth in this class. I see him as a day 1 starter on the outside. When you look at this class, and there's a lot of guys that they're either undersized, more slot types, or they're really raw. Like after the top 4 for me, you have, Rondale Moore, Kadarius Toney, Elijah Moore. Those are more of your gimmick playmaker types, not necessarily the perimeter route runners. And then you get like Terrace Marshall, even like Dyami Brown. These guys are not like refined football players from a production and route running standpoint. And I like Dyami Brown a lot. He could have made this list too if everyone else wasn't so crazy high on him. But anyway, Tylan Wallace, I just feel incredibly safe about him as a day 1 number 2 receiver on the perimeter. He is fully refined, basically run him on go balls, comebacks, hitches, slants. He can run in routes. He is really smart at finding holes in zone coverage. He is good to go, man. His hands are extremely reliable. He's got great contested catch ability. He works the sidelines well. He run blocks. He's a tough dude. Kind of reminds me a lot of actually Juju Smith-Schuster coming in as a 2nd round of Pittsburgh and was a day 1 impact for them. And no, I don't think he will ever be an elite receiver. Just like I don't think Juju Smith-Schuster will ever be an elite receiver. But there's still a ton of value there. Once you get into the 2nd round and beyond, not every pick needs to be someone you think could be a potential Hall of Fame player, right? And I don't feel that way about Tylan Wallace, but I do feel very good if you're a team that needs a number 2 receiver, you're looking to win right now, maybe you were hurting for cap space and couldn't get into the market on a Juju or a Corey Davis or anything like that. Looking at teams like the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Packers, there's a long list of teams that could use a number 2 perimeter receiver, plug him in as a 2nd round pick, and just let him go to work. And that to me is Tylan Wallace, and I think I value what he brings to the table a lot more than other people. Maybe because he doesn't run in the 4.3s. I don't know. But my number 8 sleeper here, Ben Cleveland, big old guard out of Georgia. And I just think people are straight up sleeping on his upside. I think he's extremely athletic off the ball. He's 6'5", 340 pounds. He comes with some pop, with some good get off in the run game. And that's really where I truly value what he brings to the table. Is day 1 as a run blocker, especially for these inside zone heavy systems. He's going to be awesome as a run blocker. Now, as a pass protector, there's some work to do there. I feel like I say this about every single Georgia offensive lineman, and that's quickly becoming, as a guy that watches all this tape, like Georgia has become one of my least favorite staffs in the NFL because I feel like their system is so non-pro style. But especially for these offensive linemen, they almost never had traditional pass sets. And for Ben Cleveland, there's going to be a learning curve. And even when he did have those pass sets, you saw some moments where it's like he could see a new move and it would catch him off guard. So I'm not leaning on him as a impact pass protector day 1. Ideally, you could maybe get him up to speed, get him NFL coaching, and kind of let him develop for a year and then replace a veteran with him. But he reminds me a lot of Gabe Jackson, who was a star for the Raiders for a long time, just went to Seattle. Big, mauling, immovable mover on the interior, but sneaky quick feet as well to do some move blocking and to have good balance as a pass protector as well. So Ben Cleveland, one of my favorite sleepers in this class. He's he's my number 2 guard. I see him as a 2nd round prospect. And I think someone's going to get him in the 3rd round and be very happy with him. And then number 7 here, Brady Breeze, a safety out of Oregon. A lot of you guys just caught my top 10 safeties video from a couple days ago. But to recap, Brady Breeze in 2019 was a player that started to gain that starting job. He entered the year as a dime safety. But frankly, he was making too many plays. He was too good of a leader. He was too secure of a tackler for Oregon to not have him as a full-time starter. And by that USC game, it was on, man. He was on the field, not just a starter and a leader for that defense, but an emerging superstar safety, to the point where he opted out of the 2020 season and then declared for the NFL draft after only truly starting 6 or so games in college. So someone in the NFL was in this guy's ear, because that's how this works, is you have a draft committee that tells these guys if they should come pro, and someone told him, like, yeah, you're a hell of a football player, we'll draft you. So keep that in mind with Brady Breeze. But yeah, he's just a really do-it-all safety. He's athletic. He's got an awesome vertical jump. I think he had like a 40-inch vertical, I think, 39 or something like that. He had an interception there once he got that starting job that really showed off those ball skills. He's a great tackler in space. He's got some agility to flip his hips and convert like a cover 4 quarters assignment into man coverage. He's got some range up there. I just love his all-around game. And his career trajectory is fascinating because he's a player you could get in the 4th round. Who knows, if he played in his senior year, would he have climbed up into the 2nd round? It's certainly possible. I think these COVID opt-outs, there's a lot of them on this list for that reason. Then my number 5 sleeper, quite possibly just my most favorite all-around player in this class, Jalen Darden, and how fun he is to watch is a big part of that. But it's not just the college highlights. Like, he has a skill set that even at 5'8", I do believe can translate. Runs great routes. He is almost impossible to tackle in space. His short area, kind of quick twitch athleticism combined with his vision in space to make guys miss, it's elite. It is exceptional. And he is not just a gimmick player. He can get vertical. He can track the ball deep. He can even go up in traffic and get it at times. He's a phenomenal route runner as well. Those quick feet do translate there. But the reason he had to make this list is because he is 5'8", and that is going to slide him down. I do think you look around the league, you see, for example, Deontay Harris for the New Orleans Saints, 5'7". They found a way to actually use him. He was their best player on their offense in the playoffs outside of Alvin Kamara in that game against the Bears. And if you are willing to let these guys on the field, I think they're showing more and more, especially as offenses are getting more spread out, that we are entering an era where a 5'8" receiver can exist. So you're kind of breaking the mold with Jalen Darden, not to mention he is behind Rondale Moore and Elijah Moore, who are also very small and similar styles. But I'm also not going to just forget about Dyami Brown because the Moores exist. So a super fun player, definitely a sleeper to me. People are saying he's a 4th round talent. No way. This guy's a 2nd, 3rd round pick for me. You got to be willing. You got to be creative. He's going to be a hell of a football player. I do believe that. Then my number 5 sleeper, sticking with another receiver here, Blake Proehl out of ECU. And I think this is quite simply just because his brother, Austin Proehl, comes with that white slot receiver stereotype. And I think they look at Blake Proehl and they're like, oh, that's who it is. No one's talking about this guy. So he's just another white slot receiver from a small school. No. You got to take the time to watch the guy play football. He is nothing like his brother, just to start. Just take any attachments you have to Austin Proehl, who is a dime a dozen slot receiver. Just take that out and remove it. That is not Blake Proehl at all. Actually, Blake Proehl, his tape, his evaluation, his physical comparison, it is not far off of a player that a lot of people like in Dyami Brown. 6 foot, 190 pounds, has the speed to get vertical, to release. And what stands out about Proehl, not just his route running, he has quite possibly the best just pound for pound hands in the class. Like, if he's open, he's not dropping it, for one. Just 2 drops on 196 targets. That's the lowest drop rate, close to 1% of anyone in this class. But not just that, like, compare that to the 61st receiver that is consensus on Blake Proehl. Man, I would take this guy early day 3, and I really think he's going to compete for a number 2 wide receiver role. And a lot of the ways we talked about Tylan Wallace, I think, apply to Blake Proehl. Again, he is not his brother. He's a much better athlete than he gets credit for. And he's got the physical profile of a guy that can really separate and come down with some good catches and be a really nice football player in the NFL for a 5th round pick. And then we have my number 4 sleeper here, Walker Little out of Stanford. You're definitely sensing a trend with a lot of these COVID opt-outs. But this really just comes down to taking a leap of faith. And I totally understand why people don't really like Walker Little, but some people have him in the 3rd, 4th round. To me, he's worth a mid-2nd round pick at the latest. And it's all about the upside here with Walker Little. he was a 5-star commit in 2017, had offers from Bama, all the top schools. He decided to go to Stanford, and he gets there as starts as a freshman, gets in there like sophomore year. He was starting to look like the next big thing at tackle, literally 6'7", but high upside dude. Was considered, if he came back his junior year and continued to show the development track as a guy that got better from his freshman to sophomore year, if he showed more of that development track, a guy that could have declared after his junior year and been a top 20 pick in the 2019 draft. And that's when, after his sophomore year, which, keep in mind, most sophomores aren't playing tackle at a super high level, and he played it very well. He was not elite or anything, but he definitely was showing that trajectory. And then you get to his junior year, where he's basically trying to put out that pro resume. He tore his ACL in I think the first drive of his second game or something like that. A completely lost season. And he decided to come back for his senior year. I think he could have been drafted around the same mark that we're discussing him right now, second, third round, because he did have that profile, and he fits the mold as a starting NFL left tackle. But he comes back for his senior year to kind of prove himself. Could have been any number of combination of things. Maybe he saw how top heavy last year's tackle class was like, I want to be a first round pick. I'm not going to be a first round pick if I come out this year, which was fair. There's really good tackles at the top of last year's board. But also, Andrew Luck, he came back to Stanford for his senior year. I've seen the Stanford campus. It's not that bad to come back, get your degree at Stanford, especially, offensive linemen. These guys, they like to have a career after football. Some of these guys retire early as well. So I get it. He comes back, wants his degree, whatever it is, and then COVID hits, and another unforeseen circumstance out of his control, and he misses his season. Now, I think people correlate the COVID opt-out and the ACL. No. He's healthy. So many players in the NFL tear their ACLs, and they come back, no big deal. I'm not worried about his ACL injury at all. You know why? Because he came out at his pro day at Stanford and looked like he was in outstanding shape and really did everything he needed to do to show that he's been working at his craft, and he's ready to go, get ready for his career as a professional football player. As far as his tape goes, yeah, it's a leap of faith. I don't think you should take him in the first round. I'm not going to go that far, but third, fourth round, no. I'm taking him before that. I think second round, I'm looking at teams like Indianapolis, Washington, Carolina, teams that need a left tackle. I would say there's a better than not chance that Walker Little is able to get his career back on track, and that if you took off his ACL, if you took off COVID, he would have probably already been in the NFL and been on this trajectory as a potential high-level left tackle. So I believe in the player. He hasn't shown any real concerns to me. It's just been really unfortunate circumstances derailing his career. So I'm going to take a chance on him as a guy that comes in with his chip on his shoulder and has some of that development. Even though you might not feel great about him starting day one because he's only played one full year and hasn't played in 2 years. So I do get that side of it, but I do believe in the player. My number 3 sleeper here, Cam Sample. Uber powerful, just strong, quick defensive end, can shift inside. He, to me, is just pushed under the rug with all these big school edge prospects. But Cam Sample was the more productive one. He, to me, is the most polished edge rusher in this class, in the top 10, behind Jalen Phillips and probably Carlos Basham. His long arms that he uses, I think I would be prepared to say that he uses his arm length and arm strength to generate a bull rush probably better than anybody in this class. Jalen Phillips would probably be the one guy that you could push back on that. But yeah, it's actually a pretty deep edge class, and all of these big school guys I think are pushing and flushing out Cam Sample. But if the question is level of competition, well, he showed up at the Senior Bowl and embarrassed everybody that tried to block him. So I think Cam Sample's a bigger day one impact than most of the edge players in this class. He doesn't have the upside as a Jason Owe or, Ronnie Perkins or Joseph Asai, Azeez Ojulari, but he is a better football player than those guys day one. And I think he's going to end up being a better pro than a collection of those players, especially like Joseph Asai, who I do rank, sorry, not Joseph Asai, Jason Owe, who I do rank ahead of Cam Sample, but that's purely based on upside. Like, he is not half the football player that Cam Sample is, especially if you're looking for that day one impact and prefer power rushers. But he has some bend and some technique in there as well, so don't sleep on that. Then we have Paulson Adenbo, my number 2 sleeper. Kind of funny how him and Walker Little out of Stanford have kind of similar sleeper value here, in large part due to COVID. But Adenbo as a sophomore was awesome, was viewed as a future first-round pick with the length and the athleticism, the modern corner, right? And then junior year just wasn't the same. It wasn't like he was bad, but he just wasn't making the same plays on the ball. He did get beat on a couple double moves that I think people are probably focusing on a little bit too much. You know, Stephon Gilmore, Jair Alexander, everybody will get beat on a well-executed double move in single coverage. It's just going to happen. Deal with it. So basically that happens. He doesn't have as many picks, and then people are like, oh, his sophomore year is a flash in the pan. No, I think he's actually still a pretty damn good corner. He just didn't have the high moments that he has as a sophomore that I'm also not going to just totally forget about. And then he decides to come back for his senior year. Again, could be to get his degree at Stanford, could be to improve his draft stock. We don't know. And then COVID hits, and he ends up getting flushed behind a lot of corners in this class. But he really does have the profile of a potential number 1 corner. He's a really good athlete. He had an outstanding workout. He's a really smart player. He's a willing tackler, even though there's some inconsistencies in his run defense. But, man, I think he's a second-round prospect, and you could potentially be getting a first-round player in the second round. And people are saying he's a third-round player. So Paulson Adenbo is a huge sleeper to me. I think some team is really going to like his skill set and take him in the top 50, 60 picks. But I think some people will criticize that decision. Then we've got Monty Rice, my number 1 sleeper. No surprise to those that have followed me in this draft process. So I have him as my 5th linebacker. Consensus ranking has him 12th. So that's a great perspective to put it in right there. But I have him over a Nick Bolton. I think he's a much smarter football player. I think he sees the field much better in coverage. He is one of really a small list, I would say, with Zaven Collins as a linebacker that looks to cover players and not grass when he's in zone coverage. So few linebackers in the NFL do that, period. He actually reminds me a lot of Eric Kendricks, not just for that, because Eric Kendricks is the best in the league at just finding someone to cover. Don't just stand there and let the offense manipulate. Go take a chance. Go take someone out of the play and force the quarterback to come off of that read when they're literally just waiting for you to, dictate what zone you're in. Don't give them that opportunity. Monty Rice will do that, which is huge. He's an underrated tackler. He was used as a sub-package defender, but I saw him take on blocks. I saw him tackle Kadarius Toney in space. I don't have any questions about his run defense and his tackling. It's fine. It's not going to be his game. It's not Eric Kendricks' game. I don't really care. You can find a Blake Martinez if you want a guy that can tackle guys after the gain 5 yards. That's not what I'm drafting Monty Rice to do. Oh, by the way, I also saw him run almost stride for stride with Jalen Waddle on a deep crossing route. So a really athletic dude that I think Georgia, again, we got two Georgia Bulldogs on this list. It's a lot of things they do with that coaching staff just infuriate me, and not letting Monty Rice be a full-time 3-down starter really bothered me. So Monty Rice is a second-round player for me. You're seeing him go in the 4th round, and I think he will. I think he will go 3rd or 4th round on draft day, but to me, he is that day 2 linebacker, your Deion Jones, Fred Warner, Eric Kendricks, that for some reason gets pushed down because he doesn't have the size or the run defending ability or the production or whatever you're looking for, but ends up being one of the better linebackers in this class. So Monty Rice is my number 1 sleeper in the upcoming NFL draft. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll be back with a predictive mock draft tomorrow, and then obviously the live stream on Thursday. So make sure you guys subscribe if you are not already, and we'll see you for the next one. Peace out.